Come on in, everyone. Come on in because we are here to do a special video on this New Year's Day. First of all, Happy New Year's, everybody. Happy New Year's. Let me give us a little bit of confetti. We got a little confetti going on. We got some neon sign work going on. We can give a little bit of balloons. You see, I got a little new toy on here. For sure, don't forget to give my video a thumbs up for sure. And I'm playing with all these little buttons over here. I just discovered these buttons, some fireworks, some New Year's Day fireworks. But you know, what are y'all doing this New Year's Day? For me, it's kind of a quiet day. It's raining out here in Southern California. They say it never rains in Southern California. Well, it's been raining for a good couple of days. And if any of y'all watch the Rose Parade, you know that it be soaking out here. But we need the rain. We need the rain. I'm not mad at it at all. But I know some of y'all is buried in snow on the East Coast. So, hey, we all making it through. But Happy New Year's. I hope everyone has divine abundance going forward in this New Year's. Love, health, happiness, joy, all of that. But while I was at home and nesting at my house, I said, you know what, let me catch up on some of my shows. And I decided to catch up on Married to Medicine. Hadn't watched it for a while, y'all. And I said, let me binge watch some episodes. And I'm going to tell you this, as I binge watched Married to Medicine after a bunch of years of not having watched, it for a while, I said to myself, dang, Toya is still treating Eugene like this. I was really thinking, I said, dang, Toya been abusing and not appreciating Eugene since Married to Medicine came on. It's been over 10 years now. And in fact, I was actually saying to myself, honestly, I almost feel like she's getting worse. And I kept saying, how can Toya be getting worse with Eugene? Like, the disrespect isn't getting better as they're married longer. It's getting worse. And then I started to think a little bit, y'all. Y'all know when I get in my thinking bag and my analyzing bag, I started saying to myself, I get it now, Toya. Now, what I want to talk about is the soft life gone wrong. You guys know I'm always on this talk about women looking for marriages, situations whereby you don't have to do anything. You don't have to contribute. It's the soft life. You just want to sit back and receive. You don't want to give anything. And I remember when we first started meeting Eugene and Toya, everyone knew that about Toya. Toya's whole story was she was a pharmaceutical rep, and she met Eugene. She always told us she thought that she was kind of too good for Eugene. In fact, I've always believed that the only reason Toya married Eugene was because he was a doctor and she wanted the soft life, right? And Eugene wanted to give it to her, right? That's why I didn't really always have too much feel bad for Eugene, because it was quite apparent that Eugene liked the trade-off. He liked the trade-off by having a feisty, good-looking Toya as his wife, and he was willing to take whatever she was dishing out. And along the way, we thought maybe after a while, Toya will come to be more appreciative of Eugene. But here's the problem with why I think Toya is getting worse, is because of the way it started. I know Toya runs around and still says how much she loves her husband. And I don't doubt that she loves Eugene. She probably does love Eugene. She probably loves him a lot. But I think the real reason why Toya still continues to have this meanness to her with Eugene and nastiness about herself with Eugene is because it's really not the life she wanted. Toya wanted the soft life, right? And she married Eugene just to get the soft life. But if Eugene wasn't a doctor, how many of you think Toya would have even married Eugene? I don't think so. I don't think she would have ever married Eugene. So Toya married for the life that she wanted to have. She chose a man to have the life she wanted to have, which fine. We get it, girl. Toya was the girl. I'm not having no 50-50 relationship. The man should be the provider of the home. And Toya didn't even want to cook. She didn't want to clean. She barely wanted to raise the boys at some particular time. So you say, okay, well, Toya, now you have everything you want. You've been on this hit show. And why now are you still upset with Eugene? Because what I just realized watching this show is that Toya doesn't really have the soft life that she wanted. Toya wanted to be a stay-at-home mom that didn't have to work, doesn't have to clean, doesn't have to cook, doesn't have to do anything. But guess what happened to Toya's life, which is what I tell you about people who only want to marry men to give them the soft life. Toya started making money. Toya started making money. You think that would be a good thing, being on Married to Medicine, but it's not really. Toya wants the rich life. She does. She likes her designer bags, her fancy clothes, her tennis club, the big, beautiful house. She likes all that. But Toya's ideal spot would have been she could sit back and receive that life from her husband, Eugene. But Toya out-earns Eugene. I've been saying this now for several years. Toya out-earns Eugene. So just like soft life women say they don't want to pay no bills, and I always say, well, if you're an ambitious woman and you've got talent, what happens when you start making money? Are you then going to require your husband to go out and make even more money so that you can still look at him as the one that makes more money? And guess what's happening to Toya and Eugene? That's what's happening to them. Because I can tell you right now that Toya's income she out-earns Eugene. So now here's a woman who married a man a lot because he was going to provide her the soft life. I don't know if she was fully physically attracted to him. He was a lot overweight back in the day. He's lost a lot of weight. Even in the looks category, what is Eugene? He ain't no 10, ain't no 9. We know what Toya likes. And I don't think Eugene is even her type. But he had money. He was a doctor. He was going to bring prestige to her life, being married to a doctor. But guess what's happened now? Toya is now the breadwinner. Toya is in a relationship, the one that she probably never wanted. She's in a 50-50 relationship. In fact, I don't even think it's 50-50. I think her relationship with Dr. Eugene is she's 70% of the money. He's 30% of the money. So think about it. If your ideal goal is to be the soft life, not have to work, to sit back and be treated like a princess and receive and receive and receive. If you look at Toya's life now, yes, they have a lot of money. Yes, they have a big house. But guess who's really paying for a lot of it? Toya. She's paying. She's paying. In fact, she was on a show and she explained that the way they got this new house is $2.5 million. It's a beautiful house. Toya says she put down the entire down payment on the house, $600,000, 20%. That's what she says she put down, right? Maybe the house was $3 million. Or no, the house was probably $2.5 million. She put down 20%, which is $500,000. And she probably needed other cash to bring in for closing costs, other these types of things. You have Toya, who basically had to buy the house. That's not what Toya wanted. Toya wants a big house, but she doesn't want to have to be responsible for making the money. Now, what she says is that Eugene pays the mortgage. He pays the mortgage. You know how much a mortgage is on a house with a note like that? Let me look it up. Let me do a little math on it. Let me go to my thing. Okay. So here we have that mortgage with taxes and insurance is probably around $13,000 a month. Okay. Over the course of a year, that's $180,000 Eugene is paying to live in that $2.5 million house. And you know all the money Toya had to spend to decorate it. And she told us, Eugene didn't pay for none of this. Toya's a breadwinner. This is why she's mad. This is why Toya was humiliating Eugene at that party. Because basically what she's saying is, I bought this house. I've put everything in here. And why can't you stand up and be a man and do whatever I tell you to do? Toya has turned into she's almost turned into resentment, because what she's saying is, this is not how I wanted to get here. I wanted this life. I wanted this big, beautiful house. I wanted these beautiful children. I know she loves her children. I wanted this life. But the way that I wanted to get it was, I wanted to be able to sit back. Now I got a husband where I'm the breadwinner and I got to work. Toya has to work. Toya no longer has the luxury of not working. Think about it. She has to work. If Toya stops working on this show, they lose this lifestyle. Eugene can't keep up with this lifestyle. Sure, he's a doctor. Sure, he makes money. But for him to be paying $180,000 alone just to cover the mortgage and taxes on this house, how much do you think Eugene makes a year? I'm thinking, I don't know, what does he make? Maybe $400,000? And to make that, he has to work darn near 5 hours away from the home. 5 hours away. In some states, you drive 5 hours, you're in a whole nother state. I'm in LA. If I drive 5 hours, I'm in Nevada. So you mean to tell me Eugene is equivalent to working in a whole nother state? Now he lives there for pretty much 4 or 5 days of the week. He only comes home on the weekend. Guess what Toya is now? She's a single mom, darn near, at home. Darn near. Not completely, of course not. I'm not going to equate it to that. But for 4 days out of the week, Toya is complaining that she feels like a single mom because she has to do everything. There you go. Is this the life that Toya wanted? Did Toya want to be the breadwinner and for 4 or 5 days out of the year be the one providing all the care for the children? No. Some of you may look at this life and say, oh, well, Toya should be happy, should be a great life. Not to someone who wanted the soft life, who didn't want to do anything, who didn't want to pay any bills. You see, Toya's always meaning these new people on Married to Medicine because she's protecting her spot on the show. You know, we see two of the meanest people when new people would come on Married to Medicine last year was Toya was mean, drsimone was mean. Now we're seeing why. Because they can't lose these jobs. Toya cannot be fired from Married to Medicine. Do you know what would happen to her whole ecosystem? She says not only does she pay the $600,000 for the down payment, she pays $30,000 a year for each child's education, $60,000 a year. If Toya loses this Married to Medicine job, she and Eugene will have to sell that house and go broke. Just like a lot of these housewives, the minute they get fired. She's going to have to do whatever Bravo asks her to do because she can't afford to lose his job. And do you really believe this is where she wanted to be? No, this is why she's even more upset with Eugene. Because now this life with Eugene, she has been turned into a working woman that has to work, right? And a woman at home doing all of the work at home with the children, which is another thing she didn't want to do. Remember Eugene used to have to go to work, come home, and still cook dinner for the kids? She's becoming increasingly more angry with Dr. Eugene because she's in a position that she never really wanted. She wanted the wealth. She wanted the fancy handbags. She wanted all of that. But she never really wanted to have to work for it. And this is what I say about women who look for marriages whereby they don't ever want to do anything. Because then I say, well, what happens when you get money? What happens if you're a star and you start a business and it takes off? Then all of a sudden you're making more money than your husband. The problem is your mindset hasn't changed. And your mindset was, I want my husband to make all the money and give me the money. I don't want to have to work for anything. So even though you're rich, even though you have money, even though you have a loving husband, deep down inside, you're resentful. I don't care what Toya says, how happy she is, how blessed she is. I believe she does believe she's blessed. I believe all these things. We can see that she's blessed. But deep down inside, this is not how she wanted to get it. This is not how she wanted to get here, and she's resentful for it. So when I saw that show, that episode where she was ripping into Eugene, bossing him around, telling him to be a man, what she was really saying was, I put on this whole fancy party to basically brag to these women and show them my fancy house and show them what I'm doing, let them know that I make money too now. And I put all this money into this house, decorating it, throwing this party. Toya's paid for all this. And I asked Eugene to get up and do something, and you don't want to do it, she's pissed. That's what that was about. That conversation she had with Eugene was about her feeling as if Eugene owed her, that she owned Eugene. This is becoming really, really, really nasty. So I tell you this, everybody's waiting for Toya to start appreciating husband. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because it's a no-win situation for Eugene. If Toya were to lose her job and then Eugene would be go back to being the primary breadwinner, she would still be upset. There's no win. She's upset when he's paying all the bills. She's upset when he can't pay all the bills because his money can no longer provide the life you want, and you make a lot of money. She's upset and resentful about that. I tell you what, I predict that her boys are going to be very successful because there's something about a person who operates like Toya. What they teach people around them is, you better not rely upon me. You better not sit around and think, I'm going to be doing everything for you, because really what I'm getting you ready for is to do for me. This is the difference between Toya and Simone. Simone didn't prepare her children to do for her, right? And so now her boys are sitting up underneath her, sucking on her titties, draining her dry of money. Toya is raising her boys to be independent. I tell you right now, they probably making money already. Already, they probably got a side business. She taught them how to cook so they could cook dinner for her. People like Toya typically raise very independent children because they don't really want to take care of their kids. They don't want to take care of their man. They don't want to take care of anybody. They really want all these people to take care of them. So the sooner I can make you grow up. If you ever notice about Toya, she always talks about how she talks to her children like adults. Like she has real conversations, because really she needs to rush them into adulthood, because the sooner they can take care of themselves, the sooner she doesn't have to. She's not like some moms who are trying to delay their children's maturity because the mother wants to keep the children close. No, Toya wants her children to grow up so that they can grow up and eventually take care of her. I think her children are going to be successful, very, very successful, because of who Toya is. Toya grew up poor. She's often told us she grew up poor. I think she's from Detroit, and she didn't grow up with a lot of money. So when she met Eugene, she was a pharmaceutical rep. She was like, this is perfect. This is perfect. I'm going to get prestige and I'm going to be rich. And now here she is, the breadwinner. Look at that. A woman who wanted the soft life is now in a relationship where she's probably paying 70% of the bills. How much did Toya make on Married to Medicine per season? I know it's a lot. It's way more than Eugene. It's probably double what Eugene makes. She's the breadwinner. Go figure. The breadwinner from a woman who wanted a soft life and who said she would never want a 50-50 relationship. Now she's probably paying 70% of the bills. That's why Eugene's working 5 hours away, because he's trying to pay this mortgage. He can't afford this mortgage. And he's trying to hold on to some sort of control, power in the relationship, because he knows if Toya ends up having to pay this mortgage too, you know how bad it is going to be up in this house. So not only did she put down the down payment, now I'm going to have to be asking her to supplement for the mortgage too. Eugene is going to kill himself driving 5 hours, working 2 jobs to keep up with this $15,000 a month mortgage, which he can't really afford. This is a hot, hot mess. A hot, hot mess. Anyway, all right, I'm going to go back to watching the other episodes. Talk to y'all later. Bye.